Hello everyone! In this video, I want to talk about how and from whom the Jedi learned about the Rule of Two invented by Darth Bane almost 1,000 years before the events of Episode 1. The source of this valuable but underappreciated information was, oddly enough, a Jedi who had fallen to the dark side of the Force. If you like what I do, don't forget to like, subscribe, or support the channel on Patreon. It really helps to develop the channel. Unfortunately, there is no official image of the hero of today's video. In fact, there are no official illustrations on this topic at all. Therefore, I decided to torment the AI, and I hope the adherents of accuracy will forgive me. So, let's get started. The Grand Battle on Ruusan, which ended in 1000 BBY, concluded the 1,000-year period of the New Sith Wars. Many Jedi were convinced that the Sith had come to an end. In part, this was true. The Sith Order of that time, known as the Brotherhood of Darkness, was defeated, destroyed, not without the help of a native of the planet Apatros named Dessel, who called himself Darth Bane. It was he who conceived and implemented the so-called Rule of Two, according to which, two there should be, no more, no less, one to embody power, the other to crave it. And so it came to pass that there was once a huge Sith Order with thousands of followers of the dark side, and now there were only two. From then on, the Sith hid in the shadows. There was no information about the Rule of Two in any of the Sith holocrons, an impressive collection of which was kept in the Order's closed archive on the lower levels of the temple on Coruscant. And there couldn't be, since Darth Bane and his followers were in no hurry to inform the Jedi of their existence. The Rule of Two was revealed to the Jedi by a fallen Jedi. His name was Kib Jeen. He was one of many Jedi of the Old Order who lived during a relatively peaceful period in galactic history, the Golden Age, as it was later called. Of course, there had never been absolute peace in the galaxy. However, there had been no global war capable of engulfing the entire galaxy, such as the Clone Wars, and even more so, there had been no long-lasting war lasting hundreds of years, similar to the period of the New Sith Wars. After completing basic training under the supervision of several teachers, Kib Jeen became a Padawan of Jedi Master Korna in 192 BBY. Kib and Korna proved to be an almost perfect pair. They worked together for 5 years before the fateful events. They traveled extensively throughout the galaxy, studying the mysteries of the Force and exploring ancient ruins connected in one way or another to the history of the Jedi, Sith, and other organizations that studied the Force. Kib and Korna were highly respected by the Jedi Council, which entrusted them with many important research assignments. The Master and his apprentice understood each other perfectly. At the time of his fall to the dark side, Kib was preparing to take the final test for knighthood, but his last assignment changed his fate. In 188 BBY, a group of Jedi discovered a strong presence of the dark side of the Force on the planet Almas. This planet is located in the Kularan system in the Theri sector. The waves of the dark side emanated from the ancient Sith fortress of Darth Revan, which he built during the New Sith Wars. However, it was not a fortress in the usual sense of the word. Everything of interest was located underground, in vast halls, chambers, and galleries. Although much time had passed since the Jedi killed the Dark Explorer Rivan and partially destroyed his fortress, echoes of the dark side still lingered in the area. During the New Sith Wars, Almas was virtually uninhabited, and the ruins of the fortress were of no interest to the Jedi. But when Kib Jeen arrived there, Almas was being populated by arriving colonists. Every year, new settlements appeared on the planet, and the capital city grew rapidly. Wanting to know if the ancient ruins posed a threat to the settlers, the Jedi Order sent Kib Jeen and his teacher Korna to investigate. As they approached the fortress, the Jedi were overwhelmed by waves of the dark side, whose echoes literally hovered everywhere. Korna was an experienced explorer and could easily cope with temptations and attempts to penetrate his mind. Therefore, he did not even notice the obsessive whispering of the dark side in his head. But in Kib's head, with every step toward the fortress, these voices grew more and more insistent. When the Jedi reached the fortress, Kib Jeen suddenly activated his lightsaber and stabbed his teacher in the back. The voice in his head told him to do it. Stepping over the dead Korna, the Padawan resolutely entered Riven's fortress. He spent the next few months inside the fortress, studying the ways of the dark side with the help of the manuscripts and artifacts stored there. When Kib left the walls of the Citadel, he was full of ambition and wanted to gain power at any cost. If not to conquer the galaxy, then to become the ruler of the Kularan system first, and then the entire sector. But he needed loyal servants, devoted soldiers. Soon, he stumbled upon a large pirate gang that was robbing ships in the surrounding systems. By bending their minds to his will with the Force, the Dark Jedi not only saved himself from death, but also realized that pirates were an excellent means to achieve power. Using the Force, threats, and promises, he soon assembled a large army consisting of various ships, thousands of pirates, and criminals of all kinds. With his pirate army, Kib Jin waged war against the local self-defense forces and, within a year, became a major criminal authority that influential people throughout the sector were forced to reckon with. The local authorities had already struggled to resist the pirate gangs, but now that a former Jedi was at the head of the pirates and had turned individual gangs into a real pirate army, in short, things were not looking good. Did the Jedi know about Kib's fate? Yes, they did. When Kib Jin, in 188 BBY, was just starting to build his pirate army, the Council sent the Order's most skilled pair of Jedi psychometrists to Elmas. They discovered the nearly decomposed body of Korna and learned that the Jedi Master had been killed by his own apprentice. The Jedi apparently did not enter the fortress itself. The results of the investigation shocked them, but the Order did not take the necessary measures to search for Kib Jin. This was a mistake. Soon, the fallen Jedi's pirate army began to terrorize the Thayer sector, causing suffering to hundreds of thousands of civilians and many merchants. But Kib did not limit himself to war alone. He wanted to learn more about the dark side and the Sith methods of controlling the Force. A thirst for knowledge had always been his distinguishing feature. In search of information about the dark side, Kib Jin visited several worlds that had previously belonged to the Sith empires. Most of them were deserted and of no value to the researcher. Only upon arriving at the ancient Sith capital on the abandoned planet of Droman Kaos did he discover a wealth of knowledge about the dark side and the Sith. In those years, Droman Kaos was a forgotten, abandoned, and almost uninhabited place. Almost all of its cities, temples, and training centers lay in ruins or had crumbled to dust from age. For several centuries, an order of Sith known as the Prophets had lived and developed on this planet. There is a video about this order on the channel, but I will briefly remind you about it. The order was founded by Darth Millennial, a former apprentice of Darth Cognis who had fled from her. Millennial did not like the limitations of the Rule of Two and decided to create his own full-fledged Sith order. He and his followers were mainly engaged in gathering and increasing knowledge about the Sith, studying the ways of the dark side of the Force, and at the same time did not try to harm the Republic or the Jedi Order. Although Darth Millennial himself had long since died, the followers of the order he created and his teachings continued to live and develop. The Prophets were well aware of the existence of another order that considered themselves Sith. They knew about them and did not show them any respect. Darth Millennial himself had informed his followers that there were a couple of beings in the galaxy with the title Darth. The Prophets willingly shared this knowledge with the former Jedi. They welcomed the new follower warmly and taught him a lot. However, the power-hungry Kib Jin decided not to stay on Droman Kaos and continue his training. Apparently, the relatively peaceful nature of the Prophets, as well as their unwillingness to conquer everyone in a row, did not suit the warlike Kib Jin, and the fallen Jedi returned to his pirates. His apprenticeship with the Prophets and active pirate activities continued for 7 long years. The end of the story came in 181 BBY. By this point, the sector had effectively become a pirate haven, and the Kulerin system was their capital, where they ruled supreme. Later, historians of the Order named these events the Dark Jedi Conflict. To deal with the threat, the Order sent 2 of its most experienced knights. The Jedi began to organize a local militia. From the ships of merchants, civilians, and anyone else who wanted to join, they created a small but well-organized and well-armed army. The Jedi then managed to outwit Kib Jin, luring him and his pirates into a trap. In a major space battle, the pirates were defeated and Kib Jin was killed in a fierce lightsaber duel. By that time, the fallen Jedi was well versed in the ways of the dark side of the Force and a powerful Force user, but he was not a skilled swordsman. The Dark Jedi was seriously wounded. Dying in the arms of the Jedi, he said, "The Sith are still alive. They still exist, but now there are only 2 of them, a master and a disciple." Probably out of gratitude to the Prophets, he did not tell the Jedi about the existence of other Sith orders and cults of followers of the dark side, which the Prophets knew about, and there were quite a few such organizations. However, the Jedi did not believe him, considering his dying words to be nothing more than the desperate ravings of a dark Jedi who had gone mad. Nevertheless, the Jedi recorded Kib Jean's dying words in the chronicles and sent them to gather dust in the archives. However, some organizational conclusions were still drawn. In 177 BBY, 4 years after Kib Jean's death, a Jedi Academy training center was established on Almus with the aim of teaching young Padawans and knights how to resist the temptations of the dark side. Later, the training center became a full-fledged enclave of the Jedi Order with its own traditions, rules, and training methods. In the central temple of the Order on Coruscant, they tried to forget about this unpleasant story, but at the Almus Academy, the story of Kib Jean was taught in history classes. Moreover, the local Jedi wrote a play called Ritual Tale of Kib Jean, which was performed annually in the Academy's large lecture hall during the celebration of the Academy's founding day. The initiative to conduct history lessons and stage the play belonged to a Jedi Master named Nera Zaveri. Many years later, after watching the play again, the head of the Academy, Jedi Master Lanius Kel Burtuk, wondered if Kib Jean's dying words could be true. For some reason, no one else had thought of this before. And so, in 53 BBY, he personally took up the question but was unable to confirm or refute Kib Jean's words. Although from time to time, the Jedi wondered whether the Sith could have survived the events on Ruusan. If the Jedi had not been negligent in their fallen colleagues' words at the time, they might have been able to find the Sith, or at least they would have been prepared to meet them and been more vigilant in the future. The followers of the Rule of Two also knew the story of Kib Jean. Inspired by the story that even an experienced Jedi could fall to the dark side, Darth Plagueis came up with a plan to win over a Jedi who was dissatisfied with the current state of the Order. His choice fell on Dooku. Plagueis did not succeed during his lifetime, but his apprentice, Darth Sidious, was able to lure Dooku to his side. The Jedi only remembered what Kib Jean had said in 32 BBY during the Naboo crisis. After Qui-Gon Jinn's unexpected encounter with Darth Maul on Tatooine, the Jedi had to dive headfirst into the archives and find Kib Jean's last words there. Words he spoke on the last day of the war with the pirates, which ended 150 years ago. These were the words spoken by Yoda in Episode 1 near the funeral pyre on which the body of Qui-Gon Jinn was burning. The body of a Jedi killed by a Sith whose appearance they could not foresee. This is how the story turned out. If you want to help develop the channel, like it, subscribe, or you can help on Patreon. Links, as always, are in the description. Thanks to everyone who watched the video, and see you next time.